Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Venerable Chief Nayaka Hamdaro, Venerable Sirs, friends and children in the Dhamma, welcome for our Saturday, the regular Dhamma talk from 6 to 7. Those regular participants are aware of this series of talk based on the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the wheel turning Sutta, the beginning of this dispensation of the Buddha Sasana, occurred with the teaching of this sutta. Because this sutta caused for his first noble disciple to arise in this world. During the listening, while listening, Venerable Kondanya, at that time the ascetic Kondanya, attained to the first stage of sainthood, called Sotapanna, the stream entry. With his attainment to this stream entry, the first ever disciple of the Lord Buddha, the Gautama, was arisen in this world. So this is such a significant sutta. Now we are halfway, presenting the teachings of the Buddha with the verbal explanations the words of this sutta, and trying our best to explain the Dhamma hidden in this sutta. Today it begins with Katama cha sa bhikkhave majjhima patipada Tathagatena abhisambuddha Chakku karani jnana karani Upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbanaya samvattati. And what Katama, Buddha here in this verse begins with a rhetorical question. What is this middle path, monks? He asks. And he himself answers, this middle path is the technique that I followed, and following this technique caused me, helped me for the arising of the vision, Chakku Karani. Karani means cause. Become cause for the eyes. Become the cause for the eyes. In the sense, following this middle path helped me to see the truth as it is. Because this middle path is not indulgent in anything. So it helped me to have this clear vision on the truth as it is. It is Chakku Karani, as if giving me eyes, giving me a vision on the truth, eyes to see the truth. Truth is there, but if I am to be indulgent, to be biased in certain aspect, angle or extreme, if I am to be indulgent in an extreme, the truth is not obvious to me. It is oblivious. Indulgence in the sense pleasures, being too lax, doesn't generate eyes in me, doesn't generate vision in me. It generates blindness in me. It generates darkness around me so that I cannot see the truth. Indulgence in self-tormenting, torturing the body, which is the other extreme against the self-indulgence, again create a blindness in me. I cannot see the truth. Only when I gave up both these extremes, and only when I go beyond these extremes, I start seeing the truth as it is. So the paths, spiritual paths that you have been educated are false. They give promises that you are going to have the vision, but they don't karani vision. They don't create the chakku, the vision. They don't create the vision. Only the path in the middle. Only the middle way gives you the vision. Jnana karani. It generates wisdom. Wisdom to see the Four Noble Truths. Wisdom to see the suffering as it is. Wisdom to see the cause of that suffering. And wisdom to see the destruction, the path to destroy that suffering only originated, only arisen in the middle path. So path is the most important thing. Only in the middle path Lord Buddha had this wisdom on the Four Noble Truths. Upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya. Upasamaya, to the subsiding, to calm down the defilements, the enemies of Nibbana, to be restrained, the cankers, kleshas, defilements to settle down, to be inactive, so that we are not disturbed from the defilements. Defilements does nothing else but disturbing us. Create anguish, hatred, jealousy, desirous, impatient, violent, All these are functions of the defilements. As long as the defilements are active within us, we are disturbed by them, troubled by them. There is no tranquility in us. There is no upasamaya in us. So this middle path, Buddha says, this middle path helped him to tame the defilements. Once he tamed the defilements, tamed those kleshas, he achieved much awaited tranquility in him, upasamaya. Then he says, abhinyaya, for the wisdom to arise, abhinyaya. Sambodhaya, for the penetrative wisdom to arise. The wisdom that penetrates the veils of ignorance and observe the reality as it is. Sambodhaya, then the Nibbanaya, for the Nibbana. So these are the benefits, he says, by following the middle path. When I am following the middle path, my eyes open to the truth. Because I am not in any extreme. I am not indulgent in anything. I did not reject the necessities for the 5 sense doors. The food I did not reject. Clothing I did not reject. Shelter I did not reject. Medicine I did not reject. Because they are the requirements for the body, so that this body is devoid of pain, suffering, devoid of sicknesses, devoid of external harassments from the sun, from the wind, from the rain, from the mosquitoes, from the gadflies, so that my body is a kind of secured, protected in a comfortable level. But it doesn't mean I am indulgent in them. When I am taking food, I am aware that I am just taking food for the survival of this body, for the comfort of the body. I am not indulgent in the taste. I am not looking for the taste. I am just taking the food for the survival. When I am wearing a cloth, I am not wearing to beautify my body, but to maintain the social sanctions, to exist in the society, and also to save my body. I am using those external requirements for my body with the understanding, by noting, always being aware, being mindful of those usages. And that mindfulness itself helped me not to be indulged on them. And he is so true. Only when we are not mindful, only when we are not aware, we are indulgent in anything. You are indulgent in your anger as long as you are not mindful of your anger. What happens when you are indulgent in it? You act based on the commands of the anger. You act being a slave to that anger. But what happens when you start being mindful of that anger? Immediately, as soon as you become mindful, simultaneously you are uprooted, emerged from that indulgence. You are no more a slave of that anger because you start observing that anger. Now anger is separated from you. Observations, mindfulness, awareness, in Pali, the sati, helps you to create a distance between you and that emotion, between you and that external object. So this is the middle path, creating a distance between you and everything else. This is the middle path. And in this middle path, my eyes opened, the Buddha says. My wisdom was created, generated, and with that, my defilements subsided. And the wisdom, the knowledge arose on the Four Noble Truths. And I got this penetrative wisdom to see the reality as it is. Chakku karani, jnana karani, upasamaya, abhinyaya, sambodhaya, nibbanaya. These are the things that I got, that I received after I started applying this middle way to my life. After I start living based on this middle manner, middle path. This is what I got, he says. Now, during this sutta, you can find in many places, Buddha applies these benefits that he received again and again to each and every factor of part of the wisdom, part of the development that he applied, acquired in his life. Let's go on. Then, for the first time, he is explaining what is this middle path. Ayameva aryo attangiko maggo seyate dang sammaditthi samma sankappo samma vacha samma kammanto samma ajivo samma vayamo samma sati samma samadhi. Ayameva aryo attangiko maggo. The middle path is nothing but this noble aryo atta 8 angiko maggo, 8-fold noble path. So he presents the factors that should contain, that must be present in this noble, in this middle way. Now it is a path. It is a path that people walk upon. If you are to walk upon on this path, you are to contain these 8 factors with you. If one of them or two of them or any of these 8 factors are missing in you, you are not qualified to walk on it. Because these 8 factors, when they are taken together, when they are as a whole, is nothing but the middle path. So it means none of them should be missing. It must be practiced together. That's the idea. Sayyatedang. This is to say, Sammaditthi, right view, Samma Sankappo, right thought, Samma Vacha, right speech, Samma Kammanto, right action, Samma Ajivo, right livelihood, Samma Vayamo, right effort, Samma Sati, right mindfulness, Samma Samadhi, right concentration. These are the 8 factors. These 8 factors are to be practiced. Those who practice, they are in the middle path. Those who develop in them, they are developing them for the sake of one realization, that is Nibbana. Nibbana is their goal. But during the practice, sometimes due to the interference of the defilements, because the defilements come and bothers that individual, he may be losing. Sometimes he is practicing them, sometimes he is not there. He is not practicing. So, in a person who has not developed, who has not attained to the middle path, sometimes, time to time, again and again, he is losing the contact with the middle path. But one day, when you are established in the middle path, that is the day you are called Sota Apanna, one who has entered the stream. The stream is nothing but that Sota, the stream, entering Sotapanna. Here the Sota or the stream is nothing but this 8-fold noble path, this middle way. This middle way is the stream. You have entered into the middle way. You have entered into the stream. It means your consciousness, the pattern of thinking, your mind has turned into a different shape. You are no more part of the recurring process of samsara. You are no more a being of samsara. You are someone who have gone out of the samsaric process. Because now your consciousness is not lokiya, mundane. Your consciousness is lokuttara, supramundane, loka uttara. Your consciousness has been transformed. We call that transformation the Gotrabhu Chitta. The Gotrabhu Chitta, you have attain to the consciousness called change of lineage, Gotrabhu Chitta has arisen in you. Now your consciousness has changed its shape, its color, its roots. Now is to go beyond the world, not go along the world anymore. You are not flowing with the stream anymore. You are flowing against the current, against the stream. You are no more part of the recurring process of birth and death. You have entered into the stream. You have entered into the middle path. Now what you have to do is move deeper and deeper into this same stream, into this same middle path. You move deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper. Then on the way you get rid of subtler and subtler defilements, subtler and subtler bondages to the samsara, and finally you will be totally liberated. Middle path is the stream that you are going to be entered one day. But for that, first you have to adopt these qualities of Sammaditthi to Samma Samadhi. These 8 qualities must be adopted. When you first adopted, they are alien to you. They are outside to you. But when you start practicing, developing, working hard on these qualities, gradually, little by little, these qualities become your qualities. Buddha's teaching become your nature. Buddha's Dhamma become your Dhamma. The Dhamma and you become one. That is the day the transformation happened from the mundane to the supramundane. That is the day you start cutting the bondages to the recurring process of samsara. So Buddha introduces, monks, middle way, opened my eyes, generated wisdom in me, subsided my defilements, and I got this penetrative vision of the truth. And what is that middle path? This middle path is nothing but the 8-fold noble path. And what are these 8 factors? Samma Ditthi to Samma Samadhi. The 8 factors he presents. Ayankosa bhikkhave majjhima patipada. This is the middle path. Principles in the middle, monks. Patipada. Patipada is, of course, literally in the general sense, Patipada is path. The path is Patipada. But in another sense, in accordance with the teachings of the Buddha, Patipada is principles. Principles that one should adopt and activate within him. Once a certain Dhamma, certain virtue, a quality becomes your principle, irrelevant to the external or internal influences, hindrances, troubles, disturbances or difficulties. Regardless of any kind of difficulties, that principle must not be changed. That is Patipada. If your principle changes time and again, in any difficulties, in any difficult situation, challenging situation, if you are changing that principle, that is not a principle anymore. Principle or patipada is something you cannot change. You have to commit yourself to continue to practice, continue to maintain. Majjhima Patipada. So therefore this middle path is a principle that you have to adopt, absorb within you. Tathagatena abhisambuddha. Tathagatena, by the enlightened one, by Tathagata. I mentioned you in the last talk that Tathagata is the word, the epithet, which is quite similar to the term Sugata in the Itipiso Gata that we recite. The Sugata is there. It is just the same for this term Tathagata. When Buddha wanted to address himself, to point out himself, he used this third person epithet to introduce him. Tathagata, thus coming, thus going. Tathagata is the one who is just going, just coming. No trace is left behind. It is a walking on the clouds. It is a journey on the sky. No footprints are to be found. Nothing remained behind. Tathagata, the one who is thus gone. Tathagata. Tathagatena Abhisambuddha. Such a person has fully realized this eightfold noble path. He has fully realized this middle path, the factors of middle path. And that realization, Chakku Karani Jnana Karani Upasamaya Abhinyaya Sambodhaya Nibbanaya Samvattate. That realization of this middle path. Whosoever come and listen, whosoever come and adopt and practice, for that person also, just like me, if I got enlightened, if I opened my eyes using this path, if my vision got clear because of this path, if I got a penetrative wisdom because of this path, there is no reason that it cannot open your eyes to the truth. There is no reason that this path cannot subside your defilements, destroy your cankers, kleshas, and generate tranquility within you. There is no reason why it cannot happen to you. It happened to me. I am a human being. It happened to me when I apply this middle path to my spiritual development. So there is no reason that it cannot happen to you. It can happen to you. What you have to do is, Buddha says, apply this. Practice upon this. Adopt this. Change your life pattern based on this. Then, the same thing that happened to me, Buddha says, can happen to you. Now he is moving to the Four Noble Truths that he realized based upon this eightfold noble path, based upon this middle way. Idang ko pana bhikkhave dukkhaṃ ariya sacchaṃ. This is the noble truth of suffering, monks, he says. Noble truth of suffering. Dukkhaṃ ariya sacchaṃ. Dukkha, dukkha, consume misery, consume suffering. Now, where is the suffering exits? Outside to you. But you consume it. But you have taken that suffering in you. Body is in pain. But body is not you. But since you have applied this I, my, mine to this body, what happens? When the body is in pain, you are in pain. For you, the body is your body. Body is you for you. So, whatever happens to the body overwhelms you, disturbs you, troubles you, put in misery. You consume misery because the body is in misery. But if you create this distance from yourself and the body, though the body is in pain, you are not in pain. You are observing that pain. You are analyzing that pain. You are understanding that pain. You are becoming neutral to that pain. You are being untroubled, non-disturbed because of that pain. You are being equanimous towards that pain. Pain doesn't disturb you anymore. So understanding the pain leads you to nobility. Therefore, in this context, in the Four Noble Truths, suffering is noble. Why? Understanding that suffering, comprehending that suffering, its origin, its existence, its cessation. Understanding it helps one to elevate himself. Now for us, suffering is nothing noble. What is nobility? There is nothing noble in suffering. Suffering could be noble when we understand it, when we used it, utilized it for our liberation, for our emancipation, for our nibbana. So the suffering, in this sense, it is noble. Why? Understanding it helps one to find the cause behind that suffering. Why the suffering is there? Dukkhang Arya Satchang. And Buddha presents. What is the suffering? What are the suffering that humanity, that living being has to go through? He says, Jati pi dukkha, jara pi dukkha, vyadi pi dukkho, maranam pi dukkhang, appiyehi sampayogo dukkho, piyehi vipayogo dukkho, yam piccang na labhati tampi dukkhang, sankitena panchupadana khanda dukkha. He says, birth is misery. Jati pi dukkha. Jara pi dukkha. Old age, aging is misery. Vyadhipi dukkho. Sickness, ailments are misery. Maranampi dukkham. Death is misery. Now between this birth and death, appiyehi sampayogo dukkho. Association with the unpleasant is misery. Appiya sampayoga. Piyehi vippayogo dukkho. Dissociation from the pleasant is misery. Yampi changna labhati tampi dukkham. Not getting what you desire is misery. And ultimately he says, Sankittena, in brief, Panchupadana Khanda Dukkha. These 5 aggregates of clinging. 5 aggregates of clinging. Pancha Upadana Khanda Adukkha. Pancha Upadana Khanda. 5 aggregates of clinging is misery. Now let's have a brief look at this. Pancha Upadana Khanda. Now we have 5 sense faculties. Indriyas. Pancha Indriya we call them. Yeah. Eye faculty, ear, nose, tongue, and the body faculty. Eye, ear, nose, tongue and body. What are the objects for the eye? The visual objects. The eye faculty and the visual object. For the ear, the sound. For the nose, smells. For the tongue, tastes. And for the body, touch. These are called faculties, indriyas, because they are the ruling, dominant faculties, dominant ruling factors, indriyas. They lord over all these areas. A visual form is never an object for the ear. Only the sound can come to the ear. A taste cannot come to the nose faculty. It is to lord over by the tongue faculty. Likewise, all these faculties lord over their particular areas. They cannot interfere with the others. So they are called indriyas, faculties. If the sound remains just a sound, without dominating our ear, in the sense that it doesn't generate anger or desire in us. Only the sounds that create desire or anger in us we create some contact with that sound. If a visual form remains just a visual form, no impact in us because of that visual form, it remains as an aggregate. It remains just a visual form, nothing. There is no impact like anger, hatred, jealousy, greed. They are just aggregates. They are harmless. They are troubleless. But the problem arises when that visual object get contacted with the eye and we started reacting in anger or in desire, craving. Anger is the other side of the craving, but it is part of the craving. So when the craving is applied to that visual object, it is attached to our consciousness. Then that aggregate of form becomes an aggregate of clinging. The skandha become upadana khanda. Khanda is aggregate. Upadana, clinging, grasping. So the khanda becomes upadana khanda. Aggregate becomes aggregate of clinging. And Buddha says, whatever, doesn't matter, irrelevant, whether it is a pleasant or unpleasant, form, sound, smell, taste, tangible, it doesn't matter, irrelevant, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, all these forms, sounds, smells, taste and tangibles generate misery in us. Why? We are attached to them. To whatever you are attached, they create misery for you. That is why he says, Sankhittena, in brief, Panchupadana Kanda, these five aggregates, dukkha. These five aggregates, Panchupadana, Upadana Kanda, these five aggregates of clinging are misery, he says. Then he moves to the next idea. Idang kopana bhikkhave dukkha samudayang ariya satchang. He introduces the misery. These are the miseries that we go through. And now he says, dukkha samudaya ariya satcha. Samudaya, the arising, the cause of misery. The cause of misery he introduces. Now a number of misery, number of suffering, types of suffering he introduced. And now he is introducing the cause, the reason, the basis where the suffering originate. The cause of suffering. Let us look how many causes he is introducing. Yayang tanha pono bhavika nandiraga sahagata tatra tantra bhinandini seyate dang kama tanha bhava tanha vibhava tanha. Tanha, craving, singular, just a one particular cause for all the misery. Tanha, craving or attachment. Craving or attachment. Now, where is craving and attachment exist? It is not outside to us. It is within us, inside. In this system, the craving is there. External form, sound, smell, taste and tangible are just excuses. Are just excuses for the craving within us to be coming onto the surface and creating attachment with those forms, sound, smell, taste and tangibles. The same craving to different directions. So tanha, many types of suffering, but one cause, one singular cause for all the types of suffering. It is the very desire, attachment within us, nothing else. That desire, that attachment, generating misery again and again. Yayang tanha pono bhavika nandiraga sahagata. Pono bhavika, which gives rise to rebirth, bound up with pleasure and lust. Nandiraga sahagata. Nandiraga, pleasure and lust, sahagata, together with. Tatra tatra bhinandini, finding fresh delight. Now here and now there. Tatra tatra bhinandini, finding pleasure and joy. Now here, now there. Sayatedang, that is to say, Kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. Now he gives different application of the same craving. Kama tanha, attachment to sense pleasures. Attachment to fulfill our sense doors, sense faculties. Attachment to desires of the body. Kama tanha, desires of the body. Bhava tanha, attachment or desire to higher status, to be this and that. Whatever desire you have, to go higher and higher status, maybe in this life, maybe after that, after this life. That all the desires for higher status, to be elevated in the status, that is bhavatanha. And bhavatanha, why you want to be in higher status? Again for the same thing, to fulfill the desires of senses greater. Because we know when we are higher in status, money wise, popularity wise, property wise, whatever status, yeah, social, economic, whatever status, all these status are for what? So that you can please your senses, you can fulfill kama tanha, sense desires better than others. So bhava tanha is for the sake of fulfilling more and more sense desires. Now what happens when none of these two becomes successful? When you are not getting what you desire, kama tanha, sense pleasures or higher status, when you are not getting these two, then the desire comes to destroy, vibhava tanha, desire to destroy because your desires are not fulfilled. So these three are actually part of the same desire, either to go higher or to destroy, to fulfill the sense pleasures. Sense pleasures can be fulfilled in a greater manner when you are in higher status. Now if none of these happens, you want to destroy. Vibhava tanha. Vibhava tanha. When the desires are not fulfilled, you want to destroy them. Kama tanha, vibhava tanha, Kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. That's enough for today. Let's share all these merits together with the devas and the departed ones. Akasatta cha bummatta deva naga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu loka sasanang chirang rakkantu desanang chirang rakkantu mam paranti. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Blessings for you. Dukkaroga bhayavera soka sabbe upaddava anekantarayapi vinassantu ca tejasa jaya siddhi danang labhang sotti bhagyan sukham balang siriya yuchavanno ca bhogam buddhi ca yasava satavassa ca ayu ca jiva siddhi bhavantu te Ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samijjatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good night, everybody.